We're with Rubin Brown. I'm Zeb Smith. I was out here last week presenting with the Becker panel group. So again, it's always nice to come out. I enjoy speaking with you guys. Students are always a fun crowd to present to because you guys aren't stuffy, enjoyable. You know, I see smiles a lot of times, and you're interactive. So anytime you have a question with our presentation, just please interrupt. Joe LaPola is my
assistant for the day. No, I've been with Rubin Brown for 3 months now. I worked 4 years at another firm in Denver on the tech center. Getting involved in recruiting, and I got signed to help out at UNC, so we'll see some more of me at some events in the future. But looking forward to meeting some of you guys.
Joe's had a few years experience within public accounting, seen a couple different firms, so if you guys have any other questions on, you know, just like his public accounting life in general, he's the guy to speak to. Good guy. So.
Yeah, I worked for a small firm before, about 50, and Rubin Brown's bigger, but so I've got a little insight on both. Seen some different cultures, and been a really good experience so far switching. So glad to answer any questions anyone may have.
So what we're going to present on tonight is life just outside of school and opportunities. The topic came up when Caitlin reached out to me this summer, and she was like, what would you like to present on? You know, we have this availability November 5th. Would you like to come on and present? I said, sure. I had no clue on what I want to talk about. I knew I probably didn't want to go with, you know, some Gatsby or some sort of pronouncement coming up, you know, some real stuffy like that. So I reached out to the interns that we had this summer and said, guys, if you had somebody come in to present, you know, what would you want them to present on? You know, what's something you're not really introduced to, or what would be something? And it was pretty unanimous across all of them. They're like, in talking with everybody, you know, professors, other recruiters, we just don't have much of a focus for what it's like right outside of college. So I sat down with a couple of them and we came up with this presentation. It starts out talking about public accounting. That's what we're most familiar with. Options within public accounting. A little bit of what to anticipate in terms of a hierarchy between staff and partner. And then other options outside of public accounting too. There's only about 1 or 2 slides on that, real basic and brief, followed by life as an entrepreneur, as a business person, you know, how to present yourself, that kind of thing. So again, please interrupt at any point. All right. So career directions. What options are available just outside of school? Public accounting is number 1. What direction can I go? Well, there's insurance services, there's tax, and then a couple other options that most people aren't familiar with. You know, those are the 2 big ones that you hear of. There's forensic accounting, consulting, and IT. I'm going to go through each of these in a little bit more depth too. So within insurance services, audit's the number 1. That's one that everybody hears. Even within an audit, there's different sectors of it. You can go SEC, so that's the big boys. That's a lot of times what you see and you hear on TV. There's also private audits, governmental, non-for-profit, benefit plans, and a whole bunch more. These are probably the main ones that our company services, but anybody that needs financing or may have to have assurance on their financial statements will seek an audit. The other options, entrepreneurial services, include reviews. So to touch base on studying, assurance is substantive evidence alongside of, you know, like inquiry. Review is just inquiry alone. And then there's compilation, so there's less assurance associated with that. You pretty much just take the numbers and plug them into a system, create financials, and that's it. There's also agreed upon procedures and additional other business services. Okay.
So,
Yes.
I've heard that agreed upon, so what is that, agreed upon procedures?
So agreed upon procedures are by definition what they are. A client may want you to go in and say, we have this compliance that we're required to stand to. One of our biggest agreed upon procedures that we do at our firm is with RTD, and RTD leases out with other organizations to run the bus systems, to run the train systems. and they have to meet certain reporting requirements. And they want like some validity behind that. So what they do is they have us say, these are our processes. Will you be a third party go and check the effectiveness of these? So we'll come up with, different controls or different testing of their controls and then see how effective they're operating. And at the very end of it, we know so many deficiencies. We say these are working well, these aren't working well. So that was a need that the client had that we as third party could benefit or help them see the effectiveness of it.
Okay, so it's not your agreed upon procedures with the client, you're making sure that someone else is doing what they said they would do, as a,
Well, yeah, in this sense, yeah. And oftentimes maybe they're the client themselves, more often than not. So like RTD and NTD is one entity in itself, I guess, and they have little different branches. And those branches are what we're testing. So it's all RTD, it's all internal.
It's kind of, what I say about it too is it's more like an audit. You're doing more audit procedures, but only on a certain select transactions or controls that the client may want to test. They don't want a full-blown audit on their entire balance sheet income statement. They just have a few areas that they want you to look at and dive into beyond what a review would do, which is, analytical. It's testing at a deeper level, but just select items, I guess.
so it's a very specific audit on a specific set of.
Yeah, and then your report ends up being, you just state your opinion on everything that they asked you to do, and, give an opinion on anything else.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so next is tax. The other big one's tax, federal and corporate tax, state and local tax, personal tax services, and wealth management services. What you guys are being presented with in this tax group that was mentioned earlier, and that's going to be more on the personal income tax level. Non-for-profits have a 990, and again, you're preparing tax returns. Limited knowledge that I have in that. Do you have any other insight on it?
I have a little more experience with tax at my first firm. They're small, so I would go out on audit, and then I would maybe do the S-corp return for the corporation, and then do maybe the shareholders individual 1040s. A lot more in-office time, I think, I would say, is one of the biggest differences with tax and audit. Tax, you're in the office, you're receiving your information, maybe from the audit team or through email, but you're working a lot more within your department, where insurance, we're going out to the clients, and we're just always at different locations, but both equal partners in the whole CPA practice, for sure.
All right, and there's the consulting end. Everybody wants to be a consultant. I mean, coming out of school, I want to be consulting. At our office in particular, it's a very small niche. There's internal audit, which came about with SOX, risk management, corporate governance, and IT audit. Organizations such as Broomfield will have an internal auditor, so they're the ones that are setting up, doing internal testing controls, and pretty much safeguarding that company's assets. Will oftentimes work below the controller or the CFO. And then corporate finance and forensics, business valuation, litigation, fraud and forensics, economic and specialty financial consulting. These are going to be the guys that are experts on the witness stand. So if there's a court case, divorce happening, these guys are going to come in and evaluate, who gets what, help along that type of stuff. Business valuation, a lot of times falls within this category. And then there's IT consulting. IT consulting will be setting up those internal controls within the IT environment. I have a buddy that worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers in St. Louis as an IT consultant, and he seemed to enjoy it quite thoroughly, but he was also a little bit more computer savvy than myself. A lot of times, I don't know, do you have any other insight on that?
I don't have a lot of insight on consulting, but it's out there, it's an option, and people that do it seem to like it. So.
Okay. Industry groups. So our primary industry groups that we service are automotive, home builders, manufacturing, distribution, hospitality and gaming, real estate, professional services, media and entertainment, governmental, not-for-profit, and more. So industry groups are everything. I mean, anything that has money, a lot of times you're going to be tied to some sort of industry group. And, you know, we're going to service, tax, consulting, audit, every single one of these. You know, they all are going to have different needs. They're going to need accountants to help with their books. That's what we all get into.
Change up the focus over here to the other side. Talking about hierarchy of public accounting, this is what we know, this is what we've been doing. So we'll just kind of talk about where you go from school and as you progress through your career if you stay in public accounting. So you're fresh out of college, you're ready to take on the world. Well, what do you expect as a staff member? Zeb found these figures of starting salaries. They range, they depend what city you're in, what size firm you're with, a lot of different things. But it is a well-paid field, you know, that you do well in public accounting compared to a lot of other degrees that people get, but it's, you know, teach their own. It is a good field to be in, and Zeb and I have both enjoyed it thus far. Staff counts are usually 0 to 3 years. You know, some people move up faster, but your first 3 years you're doing a lot of the lower level type audit and tax work. And you learn a lot. Basic audit procedures, initial prep of tax returns, engaging with client regularly. I know from audit you're definitely going to be out there in front of the client, but even for tax, when you're getting on the phone, you're asking questions. Rarely do you receive all the tax information that you need. You typically have to go back and ask for things. And so you got to know how to present yourself. Learning risk assessment with audit and audit approaches for your firm. I can say for my 2 firms that I've worked for, you know, the approaches were a little different. The risk inherent in the companies we were working with was different just based on size. Rubin Brown deals with high risk clients that are bigger clients. So it's just a little different, and it depends on the industry groups too. You know, I had a lot of experience in construction. The risks in construction are a lot different than government, which is something new to me that I'm doing at Rubin Brown. But it's fun to get involved in different industries and just you know, get to audit in different ways, but also tax is different for those guys as well. Yeah, and so on the tax side, you're beginning to understand the tax law and try and keep up with it as it changes. So good luck if you go that route. Expectations, ask questions. That's the number one thing I would say when you first start. We say down there, words from the wise. The first year is hard. You know, you feel like you don't know a lot. You know, and most people I talk to feel the same way. You know, it's just a lot to take on, especially when you go through busy season. It's just a lot of work and it's coming at you fast. I started December 28th of 09, so I just got thrown into the water and had to try and sink or swim, right? So I decided to swim, and asking questions is very helpful because the more you try and figure it out on your own, especially in the beginning, it's tough and you just spin your wheels, and people are more than willing to help you. I found that in both my jobs, and you know, take advantage of the resources you have, just like you do in school. I mean, you ask the question, you learn, and you don't have to maybe ask the question. Promote a fun working environment, be a positive team member. I think that is definitely a good thing. I mean, I'm not going to talk about that long, but you know, just having a positive attitude. I'm a big believer in you control how your day goes. Things come up, challenges happen, deadlines, you know, sometimes don't get met, but just, you know, maintain a positive outlook on life. There's more to life than accounting, so it's just a job. It's a career, take it seriously, but be a good team member. You know, I think that goes a long way when you're the opposite. People notice. And work towards a CPA. Zeb did his CPA how long did you work before you started?
I started the exam, started studying for it the last semester of college, so I was able to get one knocked out before then, and then I started on with an internship, and pretty much learned that that's where I had no ability to study and work at the same time. It was really hard because, I mean, it's just exactly what he's talking about right here, you know? It's tough. You have to completely change from being a student, being on your own time. You know, you could sleep in a little bit later in the day, go to class, go to work, bounce back between things, study at night. You know, you had your own schedule. Well, now you're on somebody else's schedule, and it was an eye-opener for me. It took about 4 or 5 months before I got adjusted enough to be able to start sitting for the exam again, and then I finished like 9 months after that. So I think in total it took me like 16,
Yeah.
just shy of that 18-month window. So,
Yeah, 18 months comes up fast.
Comes up
For a lot of
really
people
fast.
that, you lose exams, nothing worse than passing one and then it lapses and you have to take it again. Mine's a little different story. So I started December '09. I didn't get my notice to schedule until July of 2012. I was new to Denver, out of college. I don't know, didn't want to do it right away. And it worked out in the end. I waited till I had a girlfriend too. I don't know why. But she's actually a CPA as well. She had been through before I did, so she was very supportive. But it takes time, and you never get less busy if you stay in public accounting. So definitely would advise taking it as soon as you can. It's a fun process. Just put in the time. That's the biggest thing. It's not how smart you are. It's putting in your time. It's a lot of work. But okay. So after staff. You have senior or in charge, as we showed on the previous slide. So in charge a lot of times can be a staff that's maybe 2 years experience. It's in charge is more of an audit term. So it's if you're out at the clients, the in charge is the one leading the engagement team. So you're in charge of field work, and that's a fun position to be in. I mean, you're really the oversight on making sure that your goals from planning are getting accomplished, and that you guys are following a good pace to meet whatever deadlines that you have set up with the client. As well as senior, which is more of a promotion, official promotion. That's about 3 to 6 years. It's a good salary, a lot more responsibility. So it's those in charge responsibilities, but you're also the forefront with client relations a lot. I mean, you're the person that's going back and forth with them on a lot of issues, from the audit or the tax returns. Just making sure that you're getting the information you need and meeting your deadlines, and you're kind of the liaison between the client and maybe a manager or partner. But it's a lot of face time with the clients, and it's a fun position to be in for sure. As it says there, responsibilities, you're the point person. Get a little more control of your schedule, and you have to take responsibility for your engagements. When you're a staff, people are kind of telling you what to do. When you're a senior, you're coming up with what you need to do, and you got to follow that through. And still be pursuing or have obtained your license. Most firms, I don't think you can get beyond this point without it. So it'll hold you back if you're struggling or putting it off, or so it's definitely a priority if you're going to stay in public accounting.
a little reflection on last week, there was a point where she mentioned, when you get to a certain level, everybody's like, well, why don't you have your CPA exam yet? This is like that point where it's expected, or your CPA license is like expected at this point. If you're gonna stay in accounting, public accounting particularly, you should probably have it by this point. Especially since you're gonna be interacting with clients a lot. They're gonna want to know, that you yourself are responsible, that you yourself are knowledgeable, you sort of have that competence behind you, and there's no better way to put that behind your name than letters, literally, so.
Yeah, I was surprised at how well people knew CPA and how well respected it is. I mean, people outside the industry know what it is, and they think it's pretty impressive. So it's tough to be an in-charge on a job, and if you have a staff coming out and they've got their CPA and you don't, clients wondering, why are you in charge of this job? So just get it done as soon, try at least. That's good advice. After that, manager. Another pay bump, 5 to 8 years, depends where you are. Different firms have it at different levels. This, I'll say at Rubin Brown, it's a lot more of, you're managing the in-charge, you're managing the staff, but you aren't in the field. We're scheduled out there for a week, you aren't out there the whole time. You're dealing with maybe 3 jobs in 1 week, so you're maybe reviewing one, you come out, use some FaceTime with the client, make sure things are going well, checking with your staff, see if they have questions, maybe you come out and review some of that to push the process along, but it's a lot higher level responsibilities. Review audit and tax files. It's a good manager to a partner is someone that the partner just gets the file, it's done. It's your responsibility to make sure that everything gets done and that it gets reviewed, and then to the partner to do their last part. And it's a lot of responsibility and it's busy. If you stay in public accounting and make it to manager, you will be busy, but it's also about delegation, I think, too. And working with people that you trust and being willing to give tasks to others. And that's, I mean, that's what management is using your team to get the job done in the most efficient manner. And some expectations. You have to have your license. Be available. You definitely need to be available to the partner. Partner's going to have questions. They don't know what's going on always at the field, but you also got to be available to the people that are doing all the work in the field when you have questions, you got to people or difficult things that arise. But you just need to know what's going on, and you're also getting out there a little more and promoting the company that you work for. You know, trying to bring in business, joining associations, getting out there and talking the talk. You know, it's hard to. I've been involved in associations since I started, and when I first started, it's hard to know what to talk about with prospective clients because you don't know a lot. At the manager level, I mean, you know what's going on, you know your industry groups, you know what an audit would take if they have questions, and it's fun. So
This is almost like one of those levels where people may obtain before they get out of public. You know, at each of these different spots, once you go from staff to in-charge senior, you see a lot of people drop out, go work industry. Usually you get a good pay raise going outside of that, or they just want a different style of life. Managers, once they hit manager, is also one of those like tier points, I think. Get a lot more options and a lot more people approaching you about trying to hire you and take over other roles. And we'll get into those other roles, other options later. But
yeah, definitely to talk about LinkedIn, they come after you. I get calls at the office all the time from recruiters. Just like, I'm at my office. I don't want to talk about opportunities right now. But it is, when you make manager level, you kind of get to see what it would take to be a partner. So a lot of people, they decide whether that's what they want to shoot for, or they go outside, and you're well equipped to do a lot of different things in the private industry or whatever you may want to do. And then partner, 8 years to retirement. Sometimes later. I don't know about sooner than that. You can get paid a lot of money being a partner. Responsibility is golf, and it's true. You do golf a lot. I mean, I'm trying to work on my game because I'm not very good at it so far, but clients like to interact outside of the audit or the tax work. That's something that we've made a goal at Rubin Brown, is to interact with our clients outside of just when we're there to get these projects done. Checking in with them throughout the year, see how things are going, but then meeting with them casually too. You know, I think as CPA firms, every firm can, or most firms can do the work. You know, it's not that the work is so hard, but it becomes relationships that you build, and people want to work with people that they like. You know, so it's making sure you go and build those relationships, and partners are the front men for that. You know, working with the CEOs and owners. You know, I don't know a lot about it. I haven't been a partner yet, but it's a goal. And you know, you direct the firm, you guide where you're going. A lot of responsibility. But you get to control your schedule too. So people that want to have a family and be a partner, there's men, there's women that have kids. Sometimes there's my old firm. There's 2 partners that are married. They made it work. You know, you get a lot more flexibility with how you do things because you're your own boss and you have ownership share, and it's top dog.
a little real life application of the golf preference. I was in Telluride on an audit in the school district, and the partner came out, and Wednesday, right in the middle of the week, him and the client decided to go hike Wilson, one of the 14ers down by Telluride. So, we were stuck there in the office finishing the audit, putting our nose to the grindstone where he's out, interacting and having fun with them. Of course, there's a lot more responsibility too. It's not all fun and games at that point, but they definitely take advantage of being winners.
Yeah. So that's the hierarchy. I think that's my last slide on that.
Okay. So any other questions on public accounting before I briefly touch up on non-public? I'd say that's where we're both most familiar with and shed most insight. Any other questions on this?
If you think of some, you can ask at the end too.
Yeah. So non-public options, the public's not for me. What the public's not for me? Work in the industry groups. So the most prevalent that I can think of is bookkeeping. There's a lot of small business development that I've heard kids go into, students go into, working QuickBooks for an organization, and then being a bookkeeper. There's also staff accounting, accounts payable, receivables, general ledgers, doing reconciliations and analysis. I've seen a few of your resumes, and I know I've seen, that you guys have been accounts receivable clerk at an organization over the summertime, or, working accounts payable, disbursements, that type of thing. So a lot of times when you go in and speaking with other colleagues that are my age, is they get put in one of those departments, and then that's just what they do. They're part of the process. Where in external accounting, you come in, you look, and you audit the process, you audit the controls in place from a very high level instance, you're working those. So putting the approval through, receiving, if you're on the disbursements end, you're receiving purchase orders coming from other departments, making sure that all the documentation is there, giving it to your supervisor, supervisor's going to do the approval, and then that whole trend.
Something quick to add to that, just from the public side, it's good to know both sides. I mean, if you guys are getting internships, it's something that accounts payable or something, it's very helpful to understand that side, because that's what you're looking at when you're going in and auditing. Remember my first year, was doing some accounts receivable work, and it was off, so I went to the client and said, oh, you guys are off by this much, and there's a journal entry that you guys probably need to do. And she comes back, she's like, all right, well, what customers do I need to be posting this to, and which accounts? And I'm like, the accounts receivable line, I don't know. You need to, there's a lot more behind these line items than what we see, so when we're going in there and maybe helping them when they have problems, there's a lot of work that's going behind that. And so any experience getting that as well is very helpful for the public, but it is also a good option if you want to just stay in private and move up to controller position or CFOs.
I think the other element of that too is depending on your personality type. Public accounting, you're interacting, you're helping, or you're engaged to audit, engaged to do the tax return for other organizations. As a staff member, you're part of your own team, and those are the people that are around all the time. We have audit engagement teams that we're constantly interchanging people that we're with. So it's just a different feeling, different environment, I guess.
Different hours too. I mean, it really is, it's what you want to do. If you want more of a 9 to 5, 8 to 5 job, it's in the private side. You're not going to get that in public really, but it's what people want in their life. So it's just thinking about what you want to do. I know it's hard to think 20 years down the road, but it's definitely a different type of atmosphere, and you're that's everything you're doing, you're part of that company. So I mean, it's different, but it's definitely a viable option for people that want to do it.
Last one on the side is a lot of students will hire in public, work upwards of 5 years management, and then hire on as a controller or consultant. There's a friend of mine I went to college with. He was in his 5th year of accounting and just got offered a controller position for twice his salary down in a place in Texas. That was a client of his that he'd been working on. They sort of earmarked him when he was the lead accountant, year 3. I don't know who it was, probably the financial director really liked him, so they offered him a position coming outside of it. So now he's going to go be the controller at that organization down in Texas. It's a pretty high-level position because as public accounting, you're sort of trained and geared towards being a high-level thought process, I think, just in terms of reporting. Oversight position, director, not-for-profit, and then, of course, you can like move to another area. Yes?
With employees that move over to, over to the industry, how does the firm feel about that? I mean, what's the general consensus like? Is it just happens and that's part of it, or is there some, some hard
So how do the partners feel if Zeb leaves to go work in industry, you're saying?
Yeah.
My thought would be is they don't mind as much as opposed to what I did, which is leaving for another public accounting firm. That's more of, I want to do this, I just don't want to do it here. Private's different, and a lot of people, partners will understand that it's mostly a lifestyle choice. It's what people want. Maybe they want more family time or things like that. So my experience has been that partners, you know, are not offended, or, you know, whatever you want to say, that they're a lot more okay with that. You know, and in the end, you do what's best for you, and any level-headed partner understands that that's how the industry works. But you will hear a lot of partners that understand. I mean, it's a turnover-heavy industry for sure, especially early on. I mean, around 3-year mark, you have a lot of people leave. 5-year mark, you have a lot of people leave. I mean, it's, you know, you hire, I was talking about this with a partner the other day, you hire 6 to hope that in 3 years you still have 4 of them, or, you know, maybe 3. You expect people are going to leave. It's when more than what you expect to leave that you got to maybe look at why are they leaving.
With that in mind, I understand this first few years in any job. I was a high school teacher, and that's another career choice that if you don't, you make it past year 3, you're probably pretty good. You don't make it up to then, you're insane or laughter.
Same thing in public accounting.
Yeah, what 2 factors in your experience have people leave public accounting?
Mine, I would say it'd be workload, and just not anticipating, you know, what the environment's going to be like. With public accounting, we have multiple bosses. I go from engagement to engagement, working with different managers, working with different partners. You know, they all have their own styles and approaches of doing things. So you almost have to be flexible in working with their different styles. You know, on the plus side of that is I don't have a designated boss, so I don't have anybody to answer to. I just need to make sure I'm on top of it. So it's literally an industry that is constantly moving. I mean, you might have slow periods during the year, but it's high stress. So I'd say that that's one big turnaround, or one big thing that keeps people out.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and I'd say maybe 3 that come to mind for me. And the second being money. I mean, 3 years in, you can get a big raise by going to private. And you just need to think about where's your ceiling, because your ceiling is usually a lot lower in private. So some people jump because, hey, it's from 60 to 75, you know, but it's, your ceiling's maybe 100, where your ceiling in public's a lot higher. So, you know, some people just, they follow the money. I'd say that's a lot, actually, along with the hours. And the third thing I'd say is just people that don't, it's not really for them, beyond just the lifestyle. It's rarely the people that are, you know, you'd say are the best, you know, some of your best staff are the ones that are leaving for private after 3 years. They may leave for another public firm. But it's not to be, you know, derogatory towards those people, but some people just decide, oh, well, you know, this isn't really, I'm not passionate about this, so I'm not, you know, excelling. And that's what you got to find is you don't work as hard if you're not enjoying it to some extent. You know? So some people just decide that it's not really what they enjoy. So that'd be the third lesser, but money's definitely up there, and then time. You know,
And if you don't like to golf.
yeah. If you don't like to golf, you gotta get out because you can't make a partner.
Good comeback.
To reflect on your question in terms of, you know, how partners sort of feel about people leaving, you're going to build relationships within your firm, within your client base. You know, with how hard you work and the reputation that you build, you know, you're going to have people that you relate really well with and don't so much. So we had a lady come in and speak to the firm not too long ago, and she said, you know, everybody that you meet is a relationship that you have. And you're going to pick a few people out of that relationship and consider them part of your board. So like if I myself, you know, I'm my own organization, I have my own like sights set on different things, different opportunities in life. And the more people I add to that board and like the stronger relationships, they're going to carry with me. So like if I were to ever leave the firm, I know 2 partners offhand, and then probably a manager in particular that I've worked really well with in the past. I interact with them outside of work on occasion, and I know that they really appreciate me and the things that I do. So I'll take them to meet with my board whenever I move on, if I ever do. So, you know, the other people will just sort of drift off. You may not hear from them again, but to keep those people with you is probably pretty.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because when I left, it was hard because I liked the people overall. You know, but at the same time, I didn't burn bridges. You know, I could always go back. They would welcome me back if I wanted to. I don't see that happening, but it's, you know, it's how you leave and how you were remembered for working. I mean, if you're a good worker, they're not gonna care, probably. If you were a great worker, they're gonna feel a little more, but it's how you go about it too.
All right, so outside of, those are just sort of the nitty gritty outside of public accounting. I know we didn't do too much, so if you have other questions, you know, we'll try and help answer on a case-by-case basis, but if you go in and type accounting jobs in Google or Indeed, Monster, you're gonna get a whole listing of them. They're gonna usually be public or non-public. All those other accounts payable, those clerk jobs, that's gonna be what you have. So you can do the research and see what options are out there. Keys to succeed across all levels of hierarchy, and I think just in general. Remember, you are responsible for you, so having a work-life balance is essential. Keep those at home happy, and those at work will be happy. We all need time to recharge. You know, like I said, you guys know you better than anybody else, so you're your own champion. You know where it works for anybody doesn't. Always seek more knowledge. Asking questions is essential. Even the partners will ask questions about new things coming out, management tactics, what makes their employers happy, etc. And then keep up on your appearance at work and online. Dress for the job they want. Does anybody watch White Collar? Yeah? Okay, so there's I can't remember what season it was. I think it was like third season.
Yeah.
But Neil said something along the lines of like, dress for the person you want to be. I can't remember specifically. It was a great quote. I tried looking for this, but I couldn't find it.
Anybody that watches the show knows they want to be like Neil.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was always just sharp as a tack all the time,
Yeah.
all the time. Even at home when he was relaxing.
Yeah, yeah, very true. Along with dress, you know, guys, we're pretty limited in what we get to wear. Coat, slacks, shirt. I wear tie sometimes all three. That's pretty much your options. Women, you have a lot more options. But, you know, guys too, I just say, brush your hair. You know, to do all the gel stuff that I do, my hair goes a little wacky, so I have to do some things to it. But, you know, my wife and I started watching The Office. I don't know how many of you see that, but I've always, I don't know how many times I've told her, but I was like, Jim Halpert's hair is very unprofessional. He's got a mop head. You don't want to look like that in public. You know, if you're a professional, you got to present yourself like a professional. So it goes a long way.
I think that's accounting in general too, across the industries. You're not a whole lot of ski bums out that are accountants, you know. So to do this profession, you're generally a step, no higher. There's a lot more weight behind working on somebody's books, and that I think shows through the way that you dress, the way that you present yourself.
Yeah, public or private, it's important work that you do, and people, you know, take you based on first impressions. I mean, it's a lot of that stuff matters, but obviously within your career, I mean, just be mindful of how you dress. And along with social media, I did a cleanup the other day. Basically, just got rid of all the people I don't ever talk to. But you know, my first employer told me they looked at my profile. So you know, as you're coming out of college, you just want to make sure you present yourself in a manner that you think is best. One thing I want to point out on the you are responsible for you. This is something I've learned to being at 2 firms now, is that you really gotta take your career by the horns, and it's kind of something where at first I thought I do good work, you know, I'll just get opportunities, and I got some of that. But partners at both firms, they really like you to ask for more responsibility too. Just say, hey, this job went well this year, you know, so-and-so got promoted to manager, whatever, I want to be in charge of this job next year. I think I can do it. You know, give me a chance. And 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, they're going to say, yeah, let's give it a shot, you know. And I think they really appreciate you taking the initiative. And, you know, I wish I would have kind of done that a little earlier on, but you know, better late than never to learn. You know, you can't just sit back and get everything handed to you. You got to take responsibility for what you want.
And involvement in organizations like this just sets you up. You know, you guys are the ones out involved, and doing community service, getting involved with Beta Alpha Psi, fraternity. Involvement like this on top of school is similar to what they look for while you're working. So just because you are involved now doesn't mean you shouldn't be involved when you're at work. I mean, we're both involved. We're out here speaking with you guys. This isn't part of the job description that we have.
That's what professionals look like, according to Google Images search. We're gonna keep jumping ahead of the slide. I guess I forgot what we got on here. First impressions, yes, they do matter. I mean, how you present yourself, especially the biggest would be like interviews. I mean, once you have a job, you know, you get comfortable with your superiors and things like that. Maybe you don't wear a suit with a tie every day, but how you present yourself, how you look, people are gonna make a lot of determinations about you, and there's a ton of studies out there that people don't really change their mind either. So you just come in for the, you know, present yourself for the job you want, you know, not as a college student that doesn't have a suit, you know, get your mom to buy you a suit if you don't have one, or go borrow, you know. There's options out there. I know not everyone can go buy $200 suits, but first impressions at interview definitely matter in how you present yourself. If you got the interview, you have the grades that they want. After that, they don't care. It's your personality, making sure that you fit in with the culture and what they're looking for. So, you know, getting the interview is first step, but to secure it is all those other X factor kind of things. So I don't know if you want to talk about that. I didn't really touch.
Just yeah, generalizations. Let me generalizations. With the interview, Joe's completely right. You have everything on paper. That's what, you know, initially weeds most people out. Coming to the interview is essential. You're gonna have, you know, probably 3 upwards of 5 people that you're gonna be introduced to. They're all gonna take notes. They're all gonna remember you, and hopefully, you know, 3 out of 3 or 5 out of 5 you like you. You know, if you have one bad apple in that group, you're probably not gonna get fed through.
Yeah. Be on time, dress right, and then I would say bring a pad and a pen. You know, take a few notes, even if you don't really have anything to, you know, just write things down. You know, they like to see that you're involved and come prepared with questions. They always, in the end, you know, I've been involved in the interview process before, and what I end up going more off of is what you asked me than what I asked you. You know, so it says a lot. So it's not hard to really just come in, and it doesn't matter what they say. You can still have your question ready, and it may not be related to what they said or not, but just be prepared. But be comfortable. Yeah, it's hard to do all that, but good luck.
Good luck. Again, a little bit more for dress. Conservativeness is forgivable. Inappropriateness is unforgettable. And then when in doubt, it's probably not acceptable. And then avoid strong smell. We got a haircut of a gentleman here. You know, he's approachable, he's opening his hand, he's got a good smile on his face, trimmed haircut, cleanly shaved. This applies for men and girls except for the cleanly shaved thing. And then women, but warm smile, feel confidence, formal dress, firm handshake, and then correct body position.
Along with strong smell, it's not just hygiene. At my old firm, there was a gal who had allergies to perfumes and colognes. So I mean, just be wary of what you're putting on. Don't overdo it. You know, I still wear cologne. I know some people may, but I've never heard anything about it. You know, it's just being conscientious of what you're wearing and how much you're wearing. Oh, and it is more acceptable today to not just be clean shaven, but you can nice clean beard if you can grow one. Yeah, so you see it a lot more. When I first started, it was a joke that only the IT people were allowed to grow facial hair, but then I came over to Rubin Brown and all the guys have beards. It's just, you know, it's how you present yourself, yeah.
And then the transition to work. Like I touched up a little bit on it. It took me a lot to transition from going to school into work. You know, 4 months, it probably was a real rough 4 months, but if you work hard, you're professional, you're flexible, positive, ask a lot of questions and get involved, you're gonna be good.
Yeah, I would say this is actually probably the easiest slide for you to take away when you first start. I mean, working hard is noticed. Being flexible, that's, I mean, people need help with something, or hey, I got this that just came in the door, and you volunteer to do it. People remember that. Being positive, I mean, partners, managers remember the people that are positive, and they remember the people that are negative, and that can go a long way in what they think about you. And a lot of times, if you're negative at first, it's hard to really change that. Getting involved, you know, I got into recruiting right when I started, you know, just finding a committee, and a lot of times you have to go and ask, but just go to a partner or somebody and say, you know, what do we have going on here that I can be involved with? And it can be some small little committee. I was on the paperless committee at my first firm. It was trying to figure out how we were going to go from a more paper audit practice to keeping it all electronic. And definitely gets noticed, and people appreciate the initiative. And then professional is how you dress and ask questions. People definitely think the people that are asking questions are smarter than the ones that aren't.
Yeah.
You know, if you come in there and aren't asking any questions, it's okay. What's he doing over there? You know, Facebook. You know, it's asking questions will help you learn faster, and your superiors will appreciate it, and they are more than willing to help. I've never come across somebody that, you know, really doesn't want to help me if I ask them, unless you're asking the same questions over and over. But
I had an interview that I shot myself in the foot. I was interviewing, I think it was for Price, my junior year for an internship position. And I asked one of the partners, the first partner I spoke to, I asked him a question. I can't remember what it was, but when I went to the second partner, you know, I went through my list of questions that I had, and I was like, oh, I asked him, I know these answers. And I think that's ultimately what kicked me out, is because, you know, I didn't openly ask him questions too. You know, I asked multiple people similar questions. You're gonna get different feedback, you're gonna get different answers. I guess be cognizant of that.
anything else?
I think that's it.
Questions?
Yes.
The one thing you haven't hit on very much is bringing in work. And you're going to have to be able to bring in clients if you're going to make it to the partner level. I mean, I've known one or two in my 40-some years here that probably didn't do that, but they were technically so strong. But you're going to be expected to bring in work. In your firm, where does that start?
I think it really starts with that staff level. Really, the managers and the partners are the ones that
They're
are
new
doing
clients.
it. Yeah,
Hardly yet.
bringing in new clients, but it does start with staff. I mean, Joe, you have some experience with that. Joe's currently working on bringing us some more.
Trying to grow the construction industry at Rubin Brown. Rubin Brown been in Denver for 3 years. We acquired some firms, a lot of governmental and nonprofit based on the firms we acquired. It's not our only niches in St. Louis, but that's what we got. So we're trying to build some other areas. And I'm learning the government stuff, but I don't want to just forget all the other stuff that I learned. So we're trying to get out there. And, you know, same thing at my other firm. I got involved right away, and then they encouraged me to get involved right away. Start joining associations based on what industries you're in. And it's a little awkward at first. I mean, I'd go, and everyone there was 20 years older than me and had a lot. They knew what they were doing, and I didn't really know what I was doing. But, you know, partners that you talk to say that it takes time. I mean, it really does take years to build some of these relationships. So you start early. I mean, 5 years in, people start thinking of you when things come up, and then it kind of just is a domino effect to an extent where you start picking up some work, and then you get known out there. But a lot of times the work you get is through clients you already have. I mean, it's hard to bring in brand new clients, but you know, in order to make partners, you're going to have to be out there trying to bring in clients, and unless you're really technically savvy, you know, I knew a partner like that as well. But from the get-go, I think it's pretty easy. You just go to these associations and you just talk. It may be awkward at first, but it's just what's the worst that can happen once you go. And that's what I tell myself. But this person can walk away, punch me, probably not. So just talk with them, you know, and bring your business cards, and wear your name tags. Business cards are great. And then following up on people you meet and maintaining your network. Keeping a list of all the business cards you get, and you know, when I get back from an event, I try and shoot an email to the person I met maybe the next day or something, say, hey, it was nice to meet you. You know, if you want to get lunch sometime, maybe try and set something up. You know, the firm's always willing to cover lunch if I take someone out that I have a contact at Wells Fargo that I regularly meet with, and we both are at points in our career where we aren't helping each other a whole lot, but we both see where it could go in the future, and so we just try and maintain that relationship, because that's another great way to bring in work is through, you know, other, like banking. You know, they do one thing and we do another thing, so they have clients that if they need an audit, they're not going to do it. They have a good relationship, being able to pass it on to you or tax work that they need done. So it's just getting out there and getting you know, and representing yourself. As you move up the ladder, there becomes more pressure on actually that turning into something. But early on, it's just doing it, going.
About being active in service organizations and that, and community organizations, do they expect you to also make contacts through those types of organizations?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know much about how they push it really, at least so far, Rubin Brown, maybe I can say a little bit more about that, but I know it goes a long way when partners value getting involved in other things. You know, I just became treasurer for a small nonprofit, and, you know, basically at the end of the month, I just reconcile their cash account. They don't have much else. But getting out there, number one, it promotes me because I'm volunteering, but it promotes my company that I work for, and it's a great way to meet people because you are meeting them maybe through this organization, but you're then, oh yeah, I work for Rubin Brown. It's like, oh yeah, I know that guy that's the treasurer. I think he did some tax and audit work, but both firms I've worked for really have pushed at giving back and being active in the community. I mean, you're just a great way to really represent the firm in a positive light, you know, sponsoring charity events, things like that. And it's easy to go. And, you know, I went to some gala, Hope Gala, I think. And it was pretty cool because I would have never gone if the firm didn't pay for me to go because it was really, really nice. But it's fun to kind of see some of that stuff, and you're just meeting a lot of high net worth people that are important in the companies they work for, and it's just, you know, another way to meet people. What's your experience been?
I don't think the firm sets an expectation for it, but they definitely do honor, and they have service awards that they recognize individuals from each office, and then usually across all of the offices that really are involved with the community and that really you know, promote themselves, promote the firm, but just do a really good job with it. Ted Clifton, who actually came to a couple of the UNC events with me last year, he got the service award across the whole firm. So he gets his name on a plaque and let the department officials.
She's fine.
I don't think it's expected, but it's definitely appreciated.
Yeah, I definitely would second that. No one will tell you you need to do it, but it gets noticed, and you know, it'll help you in your career. But you know, and also you give back to the community. I mean, you're not just doing it for gains. I don't expect really anything out of the treasurer thing. It's getting to use my skills to help out a small organization that doesn't really work. So. All right.
It's just the ghost that kept her.
Good questions. Any other?
So you had mentioned that you worked at a smaller firm before you moved to Rubin Brown. In your opinion, what are some pros and cons of working at a smaller firm?
Sure. So I would say one of the biggest pros that I experienced working at a small firm was that I got to do both audit and tax when I started. Because a lot of people don't know what they want to do really when they come out. I hated tax class in college. It's all right, but it was a lot better when you get to do it, and just on that forefront, audit's a lot better when you get to do it too. But I got to the difference between my first firm and Deloitte, what I worked for, is Deloitte, you're through talking to people, is you're getting very good at some very specific area. You're getting really good at cash your first year. You're auditing cash all year. You're really good at it. You're gonna know a lot more than I would maybe for my firm. But I'm getting, within my first year, I touch pretty much every aspect of the balance sheet, income statement, and got to see some tax side as well. So it helps to know some about tax returns. All clients want to talk about tax at some point. So that was one pro. Con would for sure be structure. Rubin Brown has great internal control. The way we do things is very set, and the review process and how things get out the door is very organized, and expectations are known. For the small firm, it's kind of just get things done, get it out. It's different. You do it for this partner, it's going to be different than how you do it for this partner. Where we have a lot more structure in place.
More bodies, like you can talk to a couple different managers. My general impression is that you have other people to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah, so another pro with the bigger is bigger clients. It's fun working with bigger clients. They're a lot of times cleaner. But you get to learn a lot from the small side too, because the clients need your help a lot. You know, and I don't know if this is at all small firms, but, you know, I've worked a lot more hours at the smaller firms just because of what we had, staffing capacity, and how much you would be responsible for, you know, doing audit tax, individual returns, 990s, I mean, I was doing some all that. So I was busy. But I'd say the opportunity of both has been good. You know, there's opportunity there. It's easier to see where you can go, I think, at a small firm, or at a big firm, it's a little harder to tell at first. But there's more resources. I mean, there's a lot of people for me to talk to about their career path and how they got to where they are. So they're both, I don't know if I answered it great, they're both different, but they're both good, you know. I enjoyed my time at my first firm, and I learned a lot. When I've learned a ton already in 3 months just because of how we do things differently here. So it's kind of the culture you're looking for too. You know, along with structure is expectations, and you know, they have those rules in place, so you kind of know what you're doing, but there's a little more flexibility probably in my small firm. But
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Just talking a little bit about recruitment, I gave you these flyers. These are the opportunities we have. I know a number of you guys have come through with interviews. Something I want to say in general, not just with Rubin Brown, but the accounting industry with students right now as a whole, is it's very competitive. I mean, we had somebody tell us like there's a record number of accounting students, I think just in general. And, you know, if you apply to a job and you go through an interview, you go to the last minute, and you don't get extended an offer, don't give up. Keep following through with that kind of stuff. It shows a lot for you, individually, if like you're really, I guess, pursue that kind of stuff, and you never know. So, just keep it.
And I would second that. Always feel free to. I only brought like 5 business cards. I can find them, but feel free to reach out. I mean, I'm more than happy to respond to emails if you guys have questions about. You know, I mean, it wasn't that long ago for me. Shorter distance for Zeb. It's it's a process. And it's hard to know what you want. You know, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just like, okay, I'll graduate because I applied for some jobs. You know, but we're both willing to help, whether you think Rubin Brown's a good fit or you maybe want to know some things about other firms. And I mean, we may not know specifics, but just saying, you know, things that can help you figure out what you want to do.
I gotta say.
Get my 5 first conference here.
I'm good. I think we're at our time. Yeah, 7 o'clock. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
If you guys need a fundraising credit, come see me.
You have a business card with you?
Yeah, I got
If you don't know if you need a fundraising credit also, come see us.
Some of the stuff.
I actually did it this last semester.
I'd be okay with
Like with but I don't know, like everything it wasn't like it's it feels so good. I feel like I wouldn't say it was they need your help, they don't know.
So if you want